This is Shanna Gardner Fernandez. She is a scorned, well-to-do wife. A woman who will cook up plans to have a Microsoft executive assassinated by her current husband. By the time the smoke settled in this case, Jarrett Bradigan, her ex-husband, would be dead, and 3 plotters in this murder-for-hire case will be facing the death penalty for his untimely demise.
I will be the last to fall.
2 days past Valentine's celebration in February 2022, a loving husband and father of 4 will be gunned down on this very road going home to his family. The order to assassinate a relationship rival would come at the hands of Mario Fernandez Saldana. Mario Saldana at the time of the hit was the current husband of Shanna Fernandez. The husband and wife team had contentious relationship issues over the child between the Microsoft executive and Shanna, who felt it best if her ex was removed from the picture entirely. On Shanna's insistence, Mario would enlist the help of a man who lived in one of his rental properties by the name of Henry Tenen. Henry Tenen, a 60-year-old black man, would be paid by check in 3 installments as a trigger man in this murder-for-hire plot. The Fernandez probably chose Tenen because he had a previous rap sheet about as long as your arm, with charges ranging from petty theft to domestic violence, but never murder. In fact, the advanced age of Mr. Tenen in psychology suggested he would be highly unlikely to commit this sort of crime. Most men who commit murders in the United States range in age from 20 to 39 years, but taper off at that milestone. I would suggest to you that Mr. Tenen did not commit this hit because of anger or desire to prove himself, but because of the monetary needs of a desperate man. Mr. Tenen falls into a category of murders who are known to be mission-oriented. Mission-oriented murders concentrate on the actual killing and its outcome. In this case, the outcome is usually some sort of monetary payoff with virtual anonymity for the crime he has committed. But on that night, the category did not matter. As Jarrett Bradigan left his house, loading his twins in his Volkswagen Atlas, he headed to his ex-wife's house as the target was placed on his back. As Jarrett took the 48-minute drive from St. Augustine to Jacksonville, text messages and phone calls prepared for his arrival. Henry Tenen now lies in wait, parked in a small outcrop on the narrow road leading to Jarrett's ex-wife's house. From Tenen's vantage point, he sees Jarrett making the return trip. It is then that he rolls his spare tire into the road to stop Jarrett's vehicle, and then exit his vehicle to remove the tire, at which time he was shot multiple times, killing him instantly. The only witness to this crime is Jarrett's 2-year-old daughter, still strapped in her child's safety seat in the back of the vehicle. That little girl will remain there, worried about her dad, for almost 5 minutes before a passerby ventured across the gruesome scene and called authorities. As the night wore on, authorities would be left to make sense of a senseless shooting. Immediately they could tell that it was an ambush because of the tire in the road beside a dead man's body. Furthermore, they knew it was not a robbery because Jarrett's wallet was on his person as well as his belongings. His car still had the flashers on with the driver's side door wide open. While this was going on, Mr. Tenen was making his mad dash away from the scene, taking back roads so as not to be caught. But today, cameras are everywhere, and his truck would be photographed. Jacksonville authorities would be tasked with making stops to 2 homes. One to the home where the dad did baking competitions with his daughters, obstacle courses, laser tag, and making toothpick boats to float on a rainy day to band with his children, whether it be the children from his first marriage or second. A father was missing. But if Shanna thought that placing a hit out on Jarrett would end her problems, she had another thing coming. From the onset of Jarrett's murder, family members, friends, and the media suspected Shanna had something to do with it. For a time, it would seem that Shanna and her husband would escape detection. In fact, it would take almost 1 year of solid detective skills to even locate the murderer. By then, Shanna had fled Florida for Washington State, with her twins leaving her husband behind to deal with the fallout. Shauna would tap into the roots of her rich Mormon parents to have them purchase a brand new home under a limited liability corporation. This was in order not to have the purchase traced. It would be in the Evergreen state that Shauna would lay low, hopefully until the storm blew over. From her vantage point as a fugitive from justice, she could see what the news was saying about her other partners in crime, as well as how close they were moving in on her. As the months dragged on, tabloid newspapers and other tabloid media outlets staked out Shauna's new digs, simply to get a photo of the woman who got away with murder. Shauna, who kept silent for months after her husband's death, finally relented to a news interview with the local affiliate, in which she told him that she had not been responsible for her husband's death. At one point in the entire ordeal, Shauna would ask Jared's new wife for a copy of Jared's death certificate for insurance purposes. Back in Jacksonville, Jared's second and truer wife would begin holding candlelight vigils to commemorate Jared's life and hunt for his killer. Friends of Jared as well as total strangers would come out to support her and his children. By then, police had developed solid leads based on a spare tire left at the scene. That wheel identification plate would lead back to Saldana Fernandez by way of Henry Tennant's text messages and phone calls. Jacksonville police would finally have their link from the tire to the truck leaving the scene of the Sanctuary Estates. Pretty soon, the pressure of local news affiliates would see the state attorney's office issuing arrest warrants for the plotters one at a time, beginning with Tennant. Tennant would already be behind bars, which is in line with his past issues of small arrest. Mr. Tennant would be arraigned on the charge of second-degree murder and begin to roll over on his cohorts. The next shoe to drop would be in the arrest of Shauna's abandoned husband, Mr. Saldana Fernandez. Mr. Fernandez would insist on his innocence and would be arraigned on first-degree murder and child abuse for what Jared's daughter witnessed the night of his assassination. And last but not least, the mastermind of the entire affair, as well as the only person to skip town, would be arrested. Florida State Attorney General would issue an arrest warrant for Shauna Gardner Fernandez for murder in the first degree, with child abuse charges for what Jared's daughter witnessed that night. Shauna would be arrested and held on charges in Washington State as she refused to waive extradition rights back to Florida. In the end, it would take the governor of Florida as well as the governor of Washington State to issue extradition orders for her to return and stand trial for the murder of her ex-husband. Too bad Shauna didn't realize until it was too late that rarely do people get away with this type of ill-conceived planning. The only thing Shauna actually accomplished was the loss of peace in the lives of the people who were truly attached to the love of one dad. Little did she know that Jared's daughter jumps now every time she hears a loud noise, or that she recalls the incident as boom, 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 daddy on the ground.